Hey everybody, welcome back to our video fly tying series. I'm Steve Worley, owner of the Worley Bugger Fly Company, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to tie one of the most popular streamer patterns that people fish with here in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. It's called the Dolly Llama. Now, we did this pattern for you a couple of years ago using rabbit. But today I'm going to show you how to tie it with extra select craft fur strips. Call them bunny strips. Good friends from Hairline Dubbing. New pattern, new material for 2024. Comes in a variety of different colors. Really beautifully done. I show this to people in the fly shop that are buying rabbit strips and they think that it's rabbit. So typically craft fur comes in kind of patch form like this. It's a really light, really thin fibrous material, synthetic, but does a ton of moving in the water. So integrating this instead of rabbit into the Dolly Llama makes it a lot lighter to throw, but you still get the same great properties with the movement and with the breathability of it. And it's not so heavy if you're on a big streamer kick, streamer junkie, and you're throwing streamers all day long. That can wear you out. So I'm going to show you how to tie the black and olive version Dolly Llama. With a little spin of the twist. Of course the white and black is also super popular here. We fish it for trout and smallmouth bass. Love it. Even carp. We catch a lot of carp on black and white Dolly Llamas. And again, Hairline's offering these strips in a variety of different colors, so you can tie it up if you're going to Alaska. There's several colors that are popular for salmon and big trout there too. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to tie the Craft Fur Dolly Llama. So, in getting started here, there's a little bit of prep work that you have to do before you can start tying the Craft Fur Dolly Llama. And it's really how you want to go about doing it. Okay, so the first things, the craft fur strips come in pretty wide, thick strips, right? So the main purpose of tying the Craft Fur Dolly Llama is to make it lighter, but still have the same great properties that make the streamer such an effective pattern, right? So even though these are beautifully done, and maybe Marcos at Hairline will be listening, it'd be great if they offered these in micro strips, because a lot of folks come in and buy rabbit strips from us at the pro shop here, and Hairline offers several different cuts, and when I say cuts, I mean width strips of rabbit. So they do a quarter, an eighth, and a 16th. I prefer the 16th strip. It's of course it's smaller and beautifully cut, and still gives you all the same great properties, but not quite as heavy to throw all day long if you're especially if you're tying big streamers like this. So really nicely put together by Hairline. Very beautiful. So what I do is I just get a piece of cardboard here and a couple of tacks, and I just stretch out the craft fur strip, and then this handy little tool, just a little razor knife, make sure it's super sharp, just run it right down the middle. And you just want to cut the binary, the foundation fabric right there. You don't need to cut through the entire thing, because if you do that, you'll end up cutting a lot of the material out of the strip. So you want to just really lightly run the razor, you know, through that piece of fabric there that's holding it all together, and that will create a small strip like this, a micro strip. Okay, so pretty easy. I mean, this is what I came up with. You might find something else that works great for you, but that worked good for me. So that's the first thing that you need to do, is you need to cut your colors, whatever color you're gonna tie. Like I said, I'm tying black and olive today, so I cut my black and I cut my olive already ahead of time just to save some time in the video. And then you got to kind of decide, are you gonna build your Dolly Llama on a hook, or are you gonna build it on a shank, an intruder shank, a Waddington by Partridge. So I'm building them on Partridge intruder shanks instead of a hook. With a hook, you might have some old hooks laying around that you want to use, and then you can build it all, and you can cut the bend of the hook off at the end of the tie. So for today's video, I'm using this. So this takes a little bit of prep work. You got to bend it out and attach the tungsten cone head to it, and then bend it back, which is not a big deal. Of course, in the Bulldog of Vices here, the Regal, I just mount it in there and just bend it, and it bends back right in place. You typically probably wouldn't do this, fooling around with our hooks, making them weaker, but since this is basically just the shank of the Dolly Llama, it's not really a big deal. It's all going to be tied in and reinforced with thread and glue anyways. So that's some of the prep work that you need to decide on. So if you're just going to do it to a regular shank hook, then you just mount the tungsten cone, and then away you'd go to this next step. Okay, so the next step would be fixing your Dacron backing or your intruder wire. I like the Dacron backing a little bit better. It's a little bit more forgiving, a little more pliable, but a lot of folks like to use the wire on their articulated flies and their stinger hooks. So when you're mounting this, you want to just make sure that you run the Dacron backing through the top of the octopus, since it's an up eye. Bring it around the back of the fly, and then just connect here. So that will give you a direct connection with your shank, with your Waddington shank. Okay, so when you tie it in, everything will be in direct line, but you'll still get that great movement. Okay, so that's the prep work that you need to do ahead of time, which is not a big deal. Just takes a few minutes to get it done. You're going to sit and tie a half dozen of them. You can whip it out real quick. All right, so on to step number 2. So in step number 2, what you're going to do is you're going to put your octopus hook with your Dacron in your vise, and you're going to attach your thread. Lay down you don't have to go all the way back, just lay down about a quarter of the way thread base there, and then bring it back. So what you're going to do is you're going to mount whatever your predominant color is of your Dolly Llama, and our predominant color is black today in this fly with a strip of olive. So your black strip, you want to put it up on top of your fly, and you want to make sure that you're going to have enough length, right? So grab your intruder. Pull it all up. Make sure that your strip is going to be long enough. You can kind of get a measurement there of where you need to be. You're still going to have plenty of tail off the back here that's going to be moving, right? So we're going to take, and we want the hook riding up. So we're just going to take and move that up in our vise, and then just separate the fibers, just so you're not trapping a bunch of them. It'll just make the fly look better. And then you're just going to mount the strip, right, to just make several. If they get in your way, you can kind of wet it a little bit just to kind of pull them fibers back, get them out of the way, make it easier. And then I just like to half hitch it. That'll keep it in place on the shank of the stinger. And then just like a normal dolly llama, what you would do is just get your strip and just take it right down into the middle there. And run it right through. And that will conceal it, and you still have plenty where you're going to get, as you're stripping this, moving it through the water, or if it's just dead drifting, it's going to breathe, pulse, move back and forth with the current. Okay, and then you have enough going out off the front of the stinger hook. So that's your second step right there. Okay, so in your third step, just disconnect your thread. Take your stinger fly out and mount your intruder or your Waddington into your vise or your hook, whichever you decide to use. Start your thread base behind the cone, and then you're just gonna lay down a thread base connecting the two pieces of the shank together. That's why I was telling you it wasn't really a big deal that you were bending them. And just lay down a thread base here and get it nice and tight. Keeps it all together. Okay. So then next you're going to take your stinger hook. You want to just kind of move that strip out of the way and expose your dacron. And then in mounting this, you gotta kind of eyeball it and look where you want the stinger. Like, you don't want the stinger way back behind here, because that's going to create some problems in between here of probably fouling. So you want to try and keep this as close to the back of the Waddington shank as you can without it binding. So it just needs to be maybe about a 1/16 of an inch away. And just take your dacron and get it on both sides of the shank there. You just got to get it started. Once you get it started, it rolls pretty easy. Just use your fingers to kind of lock it in place as you move forward, and then tighten it down. Move it back. move your thread back, and make sure that you're pulling tight too. You want to be able to pull on this. See how I'm pulling? Because you hook a big trout on that, you don't want that to go out. Because if that goes out, there goes your big trout. So when you're making your stinger hooks, you always gotta make sure that you're binding it really well. Our dacron's just a little longer than what we needed here. I'm going to bind the rest of this down. And we'll half hitch. And then just for safety purposes, since we are streamer fishing, typically streamers, you're hunting bigger, more aggressive fish, so we'll take and apply some. You can use UV resin or super glue. I prefer the resin. The super glue is just it's just messy. So just apply it, and then just fry it with your light, and it just takes a few seconds to cook it, and that just ensures that you've created a impenetrable connection between your Waddington shank and your stinger, and you'll get lots and lots of use out of this fly. You'll catch lots of fish on it. So there you go, completely dry. You can pull on that hard and see that it is not going anywhere. And that's 20-pound dacron. That's not going to break neither. So okay, so you've got that connected. Now you're ready to build the body of the Dolly Llama. On this step, what I'm using to build the body with is a couple of pieces of polar chenille, and maybe Marcos is watching again at Hairline. Need a black and olive UV polar chenille. So but I just take a piece of black and olive and put it together, and then just take and cut some of them fibers out of the end. Just less bulk in your fly. Just lay it right up on top of the shank here, and then you're just going to bind that down in place. Okay. Again, just half hitch it so you're good. And then move it to right back behind the cone there. So this is really fibrous chenille. So I like to take this little comb. Hairline didn't have these for a while, but they got them back in stock, and people see me using this thing in our videos, and they see it laying on the desk, and they just love it. It's a killer little brush. It's even great when I grow this Fu Manchu, for combing it out. So it has, a lot of good uses. So just comb it out, and it's a little bit easier to work with and makes your body look a little bit better. So you're going to take and wrap it, and it doesn't matter. You can wrap it counterclockwise or clockwise, whichever you prefer. But each time that you wind, just pull those fibers back so you're not trapping a bunch of them underneath. And again, pull tight. You can kind of comb it out too as you go. they get in the way, just pull them back. And go right up, back behind the cone head there. Your cone should still be moving. You don't want it. Just go right to the back of the cone, because you got some other materials that are going to go finish off the front of the fly, the head. So then just bind that down real good, and then just get in there close and you can snip that out. Then you can just go through and brush it. Watch out for that stinger. They are sneaky and they're sharp. On your next step, what you're going to do is you're going to connect your strip down. What you want to do is do a half hitch here, and then disconnect your thread, or if you have another bobbin, you can use another bobbin too, I guess. But you pull these fibers forward, get your strip out of the way. And connect your thread the very back portion of where you started your chenille. And we're just going to mount. We're going to we're going to mount the strip to the back right here too, just to reinforce it, make it more durable, and just to keep from fouling in the fly. Okay, so just separate those materials, and then you're just going to make a few thread wraps around there, and that's going to connect it, the back portion of that strip. And then just half hitch. Make sure that you're not trapping a bunch of fibers in there. Just pull them back out of the way. It's easy. They're real pliable, and they work well with when you're tying. So after you've done that, then just disconnect your thread again, and that's bound your strip. So whether you're doing a rabbit strip or a craft fur strip, I think it's a good idea to mount the back of the strip there. So once you've done that, then you can pull it all back. Just brush it. And then reinstall your thread behind your cone. Then just make sure that your strip is up on the top of your fly. And again, pull it kind of tight, not so tight that you're pulling the back of the strip and the hook, but just tight enough to where it's going to be laying on top. Again, separate those materials, and then just bind that. I like to go in front and back. And if you got this extra piece hanging off here and you think it's long enough, you can leave that because that'll save you one last strip at the end of the fly. So on our next step here, I'm going to take the shank out, and I'm going to flip it upside down. And you're going to take your olive strip. This stuff's pretty easy. Just you can get in there and just cut right off the base there, just to expose some of that fabric, because that's what you want to be tying down. Okay, so you want to mount this right underneath. And it's all right if it's a little long, because you probably want it a little long just so you can trim it. So just get that back behind your cone. And affix your olive strip. And then if you have some excess sticking up, just get in there and chop that out. Okay, there's that piece kind of dangling right there. Just keep that out of the way. Don't tie that down. So the Craft Fur Dolly Llama's coming together here. Now the original, your next step, had some lateral scale tied in. So what I do is I like this micro lateral scale, so I just take 4 or 5 pieces. It moves a lot better than the real thicker stuff. So we're going to take this, and I just like to form it around the thread here. That kind of locks it in place. And then we're going to tie it right in on the sides. Get up a little closer to the work here. So just measure it out and then cut it fairly even with the strip. And then you want to just do the same on the other side. Get it mounted in there. And then you can cut it. You can always refine it at the very end, you know, whether you if you leave them a little long, it's not a big deal. You can make all those adjustments at the very. It's better that they're long than short. Okay, so you've tied that in. We're still tying upside down here. You could switch it around if you need to, and it helps you. You can switch it around and tie it right side up if you need to. So the next thing that we're going to add is just a little, when I tie my Dolly Llamas, I like a red throat on them. So we're just going to add a little bit of ice wing fiber. And Tim Irish, our fly fishing mentor here at the Whirly Bugger, love this stuff. And check out his ice wing streamer on our YouTube or the website. So you don't need a whole lot of it. You just kind of form it together. And again, just trap it between the threads. Lay it right along the side and then just tie it in. Chop it, and that'll add that kind of red throat to your pattern. Bring it around the other side. Again, lock it in place. And it's all right. Again, if it's long, no big deal. We can make all those adjustments at the very end of the fly. Okay, so our final step here is we're going to take this piece of craft fur from the strip that we left on there. if it's not long enough and you know you've tied it in and cut off a little chunk, then you can just take and add. You can just take and add a piece. Just take and tie in a piece of strip, because we're just going to wrap it over in front. And typically, I mean, if you were doing this with a rabbit strip with the Dolly Llama, you would use a rabbit strip for the body, and then a cross-cut strip to wrap back behind the head. But since this stuff is so pliable and easy to use, you know, you don't need to do that. So kind of you can build cross-cut bodies with it as well. If you want to wrap bodies with the craft fur, you can do that. So this is that piece that we left tied in there. We're just going to pull everything back so we don't trap anything, and then we're just going to wrap it around to finish off the front of the fly there behind the cone. And then just take and tie that in. Make sure it's bound real well. Everything looks good. You can whip finish or half hitch, whatever you prefer. Now we can turn the fly over, and gotta watch when you're brushing it out. That stinger hook will get you, man. So everything looks good. If your strips are, you know, the length that you want them, you don't want them too long, don't want them too short. This one actually turned out pretty good. There's not much trimming that we need to do on it, I don't think. So you got your stinger riding upward, got your olive strip underneath. That's about a perfect length too. It's not going to get bound in with the stinger hook, but it's going to create that diversion of color. And there it is. That is your Craft Fur Dolly Llama. Again, great. One of the premier, really great streamer patterns that has come along, probably in the top 10 list, and now it's the Craft Fur Dolly Llama, even better. So thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, and happy holidays to everybody.